The first half of the year is almost over. The pandemic is still dominating the headlines, and yet there is some hope of a normality. What this means for interest rates, I will discuss now with Felix Brill, the Chief Investment Officer of VP Bank. Felix, the economic indicators are tremendously good at the moment. For how much longer?
Just has started, hasn't it? So I think it's not going to be over anytime soon. There are good reasons to believe that. For instance, look around. People want to go out. They want to go dining out, traveling, going to events. And I think this is really good news for the economy.
Are there no threats at all to the economy?
Sure they are. I'm an economist, by training, and we like to talk a lot about risks and so on. Of course, there are also risks now. I try to limit myself to two for the time being. One being the COVID, the pandemic still. There's a risk that we see another variant of the virus, which is immune to the vaccines, and then we would have to start all over again, which is clearly no good news. And secondly, there is the risk of the supply chain issues, the inflation topic we discussed last month. Now we've seen in the US inflation picking up to 5% in May. We still think it's going to be temporary, but we have to watch it closely.
As we also discussed last month, the central banks are watching this very closely. What do you think is a path to a certain normalization of the central bank policies?
They will start communicating something. They will provide forward guidance, as we say. And we think the Fed is going to be the first one. They're going to announce, probably already in summer, a plan how to taper the bond purchases. It's not about interest rate hikes yet. This is something down the road.
I also want to speak about Chinese bonds. The investments committee has decided to take them on in the portfolio. Why was that decision taken?
We think the time is right not only to have Chinese stocks in the portfolio, but also Chinese bonds. This is also the result of the study we did with regard to emerging markets and just published in our Telescope, the investment magazine. And to just highlight two arguments. One argument is that Chinese bonds promise to add a nice diversification effect to the portfolio because they have a low correlation to other asset classes. And the second argument is that the running yields, the nominal yields, are still above 3%. And even if you deduct the inflation in China, we have positive real rates, which is in the current environment quite something.
But at VP Bank, we have included sustainability criteria in all the investment processes. When I think about CO2 emissions in China or also the human rights situation, how can China be part of a portfolio?
These are two very important questions you're raising here, and with regard to the human rights issue, we think the way to go is to bet on the international diplomacy and that they will have some success. There's some critical constructive dialogue in place. The Swiss government, for instance, just communicated its new China strategy in March, where they explicitly pointed out that they want to raise this topic dominantly in the upcoming meetings, and we hope that this will have some positive impact. Secondly, with regard to CO2 emissions, China has pledged to become carbon neutral by 2060, so similar as the US and Europe, and we think the chances are really good that we see quite some reduction going forward and some progress in terms of CO2 emissions.
Thank you, Felix. This concludes our view, the questions. If you like, we'll be back for you in July.